Hello, my name's Calvin, and this is the Tech I Missed. In today's episode, we're going to be working with 1541 power supplies. The 1541 being the old disk drives for the Commodores, for the VIC-20, the 64 and 128. Pretty sure you can use them on the 128s. In any case, so I have some video from a day ago or so, where I'm putting this power supply. Well, this is a 12 and 5 volt power supply, where I'm putting this into one of the disk drives that I have. And the problem is, what was happening was this is a 78. This right here is a 78M05, and it's only 500 milliamps. And what was happening was, it was getting extremely hot, and it was, you know how these linear power supply voltage regulators work. Once they get so hot, they start shutting themselves down, and they lower their output so they can stay cool. So one thing that I tried was I took this off of one, and I added a 7805 with 1.5 amp max current draw, and that worked, but it still got really, really hot. I mean, super hot. Like, I did put it on, and I'll show you a video. You'll see the video, but the heatsink didn't get super hot, but the chip itself, I couldn't put my finger on it, couldn't touch it, and I even put a little fan in there. So it does work now, and it works, but I don't like it. I don't like that thing gets super hot, and I don't like having the fan in there because it's loud and it doesn't need to be. Okay, so this was the day before, and I wanted to show you this so you could see why I wanted to change it. There you can see I put on the 7805 that when I looked at the data sheet is rated for 1.5 amps. It might just, I thought they were usually 1, but maybe it is 1.5 for this one, I don't know. But in any case, so what I did was, yeah, I put some janky wires in there to connect it to where the old one was. I only did that so I could make sure that I had it up against that heat sink. I wanted to make sure that it was getting cooled. So that's really the only choice I had, was to put some wires down from the legs onto the board to where the original one was. And there I've got the fan that I'm going to put in it. But yeah, so I set it up this way, and yeah, I put a little heat sink on the front of that. I don't know if that probably doesn't make much difference at all, but I guess every little bit helps. And then at first I tested it with my mega diodes. Not diodes, resistors. So I got two 2-watt resistors in parallel that I tested it with first. It got pretty hot, and now I'm testing it with the board, the actual board from the driver, and you can see it's down to 4 volts, and it's only pulling 390 milliamps, which I guess is quite a bit, but it still got really hot. When I put my finger on it here, that's very hot. And especially see, I had to pull my finger away super fast because the chip was so hot. And it's just kind of ridiculous. So, I just didn't want this in my drive. It's not the kind of thing that I want in my systems. I want my systems to be working nicely and to function well. I don't want junk inside of them. Like sometimes I can deal with like
the wrong type of capacitors. That's not a big deal because maybe I'll change them in the future and they might go bad. But I don't want a super hot power supply in my drive. And that fan you're going to hear coming up, it's, even though it's small, which probably makes it worse, it's kind of loud in the case. I have it listen here to how loud it is.
So what I did was I ordered some of these. This is in itself is just a 12-volt power supply, and I believe this was like $7 from Amazon or something along those lines. And this, I believe I got 5 of these for like maybe $10 or something. And these are voltage regulators. They're adjustable, and they're 3 amps. This is, I believe, quite a bit more than 3 amps you can draw from this, but this one is max 3 amps, and it has the LM25969 chip on it, which I was going to build one of these, or for some of these myself, but I looked up the chips and they were like, I don't know, like $2 each or something, or close to $2 each. And I could buy 5 of these already made for roughly $10 or $11, something like that. So I figured save time and really not saving any much money at all, if any. So I just went ahead and bought these. So what I'm going to do right now first is we're going to test how hot it gets with my big diodes here. It should pull, I'm not sure how many watts of power it should pull, but I think it should be around, it's either 5 or 10, but in any case. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to test this power supply and this power supply. We got this power supply hooked up to this one, and we're going to pull it through my watts up here, and this is going to be our load, and we're just going to see how hot it gets after a few minutes. So let's do that now. Okay, so I already have this little cord here hooked up to the 12-volt power supply. I'm just going to plug it in here. I'm going to have to leave this up here, take this off so it doesn't pull it down. And let's see. Okay, so I've got to yeah. Okay, so I need to attach this one to the, of course, positive end, and this to the negative end. And here we have our, what's that? Oh, we don't have the load on yet, so let's put the load on. Our load, our diode load. Okay. All right. So now I've got a load, and it's 0.6 amps, 0.6 amps basically, 600 milliamps basically. But see, we have our voltage down to 4 volts. So if you can see that, let's see if you can see it. If you can see that or not. Maybe you can probably see it. Is it gonna focus or not? Anyway. That does not look focused. Something's going on with this camera. Okay, that's better. I'm not sure what was going on with it. But as you can see, we've got 4 volts, 6.6 amps. That's a little warm, but it's not really that warm. See, this isn't really warm at all. These out. Shit. That wasn't good. Okay. These two leads touched each other. Get these out of the way too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up the voltage a little bit on this. And I'll have to do this too when I put it in the disk drive. That'll be alright. I want to make sure it's going to get like a good 5 volts. Since this is a 3 amp regulator, it shouldn't get too hot or too bad. So we're going to raise it up here to 5 volts and basically just keep it there until we put it in the drive. 5.1 is good. Okay. It's a little warm but not hot. These are warm, on the verge of getting hot, but they're not that bad. So we've got 0.75 amps, so 750 milliamps, 3.8 watts. Now we're at 5 volts, which is what we want. Not too hot. I mean, warm, hot, I would say hot, but not, these are hot, but not what I would say, you know, not making me pull my fingers off of them. So these are obviously, the wattage is, still not hot. A lot of it's warm, of course, that's where it's heating at. The front's not. Honestly warm, so. Okay. I might put some heat on here. Not sure. Not sure why I do, but I think pretty hot now. Yeah, it's hot. Pretty hot. But this is alright. It's warm here. It's actually warmer here than it is by the IC. Still not that bad. I mean, they're hot. I don't want to hold it there very long, but. Okay, so I think that's a good enough test. I mean, this really isn't that hot. So let's see how much the drive itself pulls. Okay, so here we have the hard drive, and there is this thing that I need to take out of here. Okay, get out. And we'll do these well. Okay, this. Actually, first. Check that out. Okay. So let's go on. You see a fan right here. Sorry. It's not like sorry. Anyway, so here's the 75. Like I said, it did work. But I was touching this, these things got on it with a little bit of a shaky on it. The whole way to screw everything. So again, it works. It's super hot. So I'm not sure you need. So I'm going to undo these. So these snip. Alright, so what we need to do now, I am not going to plug these in yet. I don't even think I'm going to plug in the 12 volts yet, because even when I did the 5 volts the other way without the 12 volts, it still was it was still like, you know, cutting power because it was getting so hot. So that was the 12 volt rail wasn't really any issue at all. So what I'm going to do, I need to get something to set this. Okay, so I've got this to set the board on so it doesn't short or anything like that. Okay, make sure it doesn't fall off. All these wires. Okay, so So we've got this plugged in, this plugged in. All I gotta do is plug this in and make sure nothing's touching anything. All right, we're good. Okay. Now let's plug it in and see what we get with the what's up. So 5.28 volts, 3 watts. So 6 amps, 600 milliamps. If you can see that, you probably can't. Now you probably can. So even though it was only pulling 600 milliamps, it was still, I'm going to turn this down just a tad so we don't get too much over 5 volts. We're a little close, or a little bit too high. Shit. I forgot to turn it down before I started. Alright, now we're at 5.5. That should be fine. 5.05. And around about, half an amp. Which is crazy how hot those things got. This one, not hot at all. This is good. So this is going to work well, I think. I think we're good. As you can see, we're getting 5 volts, 5.05 to 5.04, and a little over half an amp. So, I've used a lot of LM 7805s, and they never seem to get that hot from 12 volts. And, I don't know, maybe the circuit, I never really looked at the amperage from a lot of my circuits, so maybe they just weren't pulling very much wattage or amperage. So maybe I assumed wrongly that half an amp would not heat up a 7805 too much, but apparently it does. But it's not this. So that's good. So we're good with that. This is not hot at all. So let's do it. Let's put it in the, let's put this power supply into this disk drive. So let's see what we did here. I put the 12 volt power supply in here. I only have one screw, but it's not going anywhere because it's wedged between here and here. Didn't want to drill another hole. I had to drill this hole anyway. And then we have the 5 volt right here, which is on a, what's it called? A riser, one of these. I forget. I know what they're called. I just can't think right now. Anyway, so I got the 5 volt here. We got the mains power going into the mains power for the power supply. That's the ground, but the ground here, and I'm not gonna. I guess I could. Maybe I will bring a ground to there, but I don't think it's really necessary. But anyway, so we've got the 12 volt negative and 12 volt positive coming into the 5 volt power supply here, and we've got the output here going into this Molex connector. So I am just going to set this on here the way it goes normally, and this isn't going to go anywhere either. It's only on one, but I don't think it's going to move unless it comes loose at some point, which I doubt. And oh yeah, so I took all of the, I didn't even talk about this, I took all the old power supply stuff off because it's not necessary. These are the old voltage regulators. As you can see here, this is the 12 volt, where the 12 volt voltage regulator was, and this is where the 5 volt was. That's all I did. So I'm just attaching the 12 volt line to where the output would have been, and the 5-volt line to where this output would have been. These are the grounds, and this is the output. These are input, and this is output. So I just need to attach the output of these to the outputs here and the grounds here. And as long as these power supplies work, it'll work, because it worked with that janky super hot one. So I'm going to put this back together, and not all of it. I'm just going to put the board in and put the rest securely in, and then we'll have a look at it, and then I'll put the cover on. Okay, so we have the drive here now. It's ready to go. I'm going to take this paper saver thing out, and I'm going to just turn it on, because what was happening before was, no matter what it was doing, if it was on, it would, after a little while, it would overheat with the old power supply. The power supply that I put into it. With the original power supply, it worked, but you know how those are. They get really hot, and they're super heavy. So we're just going to let this go for a little while. What would happen is, it would go for a while, it would heat up and then dim, this would dim out, and then nothing would work. So I am just going to leave it on for a minute. See how everything feels, see how it looks, see if this gets dim. I don't think you'll be able to notice it on the video or not, but now before, when I first put the other power supply in, it would have been overheating already. And like I said, this one does work. It just still gets really, really hot. It works after I put the new 7805 in it. But again, it gets super hot, and I just don't want that. Don't want that in my stuff. So maybe this will be useful at some point, but for now, no. No noise, which is good. Oh yeah, I took the fan off of this, by the way. Use it for something else. I don't know. I don't really think it needed it. I mean, it does get super hot, but I mean, I'm not going to use this for something like this, I guess. At least not a Commodore thing. Something else I could probably use it for in the future. That looks good. I'm going to go ahead and put it together, and we'll try it out. Okay, so we have the C64 here with a redone power supply, which I believe I will do one in the next video. But for now, we're just going to focus on this floppy drive. Got my floppy here. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Something's not right. I had the baby cables backwards. That's not good. Okay. Yeah, we should be alright. There we go. Turn this on. There we go. Put this in there. Now, I think we'll just write a, I don't know, quick basic program. My go-to thing, oops. 10, oops. Print, let's just do super. Let's do a bunch of parts. That sounds good. Or not spades, parts. There we go, that's cute. We go to 10. Now let's save it. So let's just save. Let's call it parts. And I happen to know that this is set for 9, so this is drive 9. 9, 10. Right. Alright, let's test and see if it's in there. Load. 9. Alright, let's do a list. Alright, we got poop and cool and hearts. Stuff I've obviously already saved before. I don't know how bad. You can probably see it a little bit. Once I get some HDMI in this, we'll be doing stuff from screen capture. But for now, this is what I got. Let's go ahead and load parts. Works well. Alright, there's that, and we'll run it. Oh. Alright, so it's working. Not hot at all. Not even close to hot. Making no noise. Working well. So, alright, I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do is sometime I'm going to clean up this one. I'm going to clean this one up and put the other power supply kit that I have in this. I like this one, the older one. I do have another one, but it doesn't work quite right. I have to do some messing around with it, and we'll probably have a video on that someday. But for now, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.